Hello everyone and welcome to Edusurg Clinics. I am Dr. Gunjan Desai and today we are going to continue our discussion on OSCE series, and this video is going to focus on abdominal examination. So if you recollect, we started our series with this subjective objective assessment and plan, the SOAP protocol of how to take rounds, and then we took a separate video on clinical history taking. We also took videos on history taking and examination for hernia, as well as the intestinal obstruction series will have a video on this aspect. But today we are going to introduce the concepts of abdominal examination in general. And if this is a topic that you have not gone through, then this video is going to give you an overview of the entire abdominal examination, and then in upcoming parts, we will look at specific organ examinations as well. So I am sure most of you know this. It is the abdominal division into quadrants. As we know, the vertical lines are the mid-clavicular lines, which extend from midpoint of clavicle to the midpoint of inguinal ligament. Whereas the horizontal lines, the upper one is the subcostal plane, which is at the 10th costal cartilage lower border, whereas the transtubercular plane is at the surface marking level of fifth lumbar vertebra, and it crosses the iliac crest tubercles. So when you draw these lines, it divides the abdomen into right hypochondrium, epigastrium, and the left hypochondrium. These are the upper three quadrants. Then you have the umbilical region, the right lumbar and the left lumbar quadrants. You have the right iliac and the left iliac quadrants, and the hypogastric region. Now, why are these important when we are doing examination? Remember this slide for life. This is because each quadrant is home to specific organs, and when you find a particular lump or an examination finding in a particular quadrant, it is going to help you in arriving at a diagnosis. For example, in right iliac fossa, all of us know it is home to appendix, and appendicitis has right iliac fossa tenderness. It is also home to cecum and terminal ileum. Hypogastric region is basically urinary bladder, ileum, and uterus if enlarged. Left iliac is predominantly sigmoid colon. The lumbar regions are where the kidneys are there and the ascending and descending colons there. Umbilical region is the small intestine, aorta, IVC, and part of transverse colon. Right hypochondrium is the home of liver, predominantly the gallbladder at the undersurface of the liver, hepatic flexure of colon, and upper pole of right kidney. Epigastric region will have stomach, first part of duodenum, body of pancreas, left lobe of liver and aorta, and left hypochondrium will have the spleen, fundus of stomach, tail of pancreas, and splenic flexure of colon. So you have to remember this, visualize all the organs when you are examining your patient, because when we are examining, based on the findings, you can make a diagnosis. Now, before we begin an examination, these are very important points. Implied verbal consent is important. May I examine you? The room should be quiet. It should be isolated. If it's a female patient, you need a chaperone. The patient should be lying flat on the back with hands by their sides and a single pillow under the head. Hips and knees are flexed to rest the abdominal muscles. The exposure is advised from xiphisternum to suprapubic area. The groins and the private areas are to be exposed when you want to examine them. The examiner's hands should be warm before you start examining. Remember that whenever you are doing any steps of examination, keep talking to the patient so that voluntary findings can be removed from your examination. So when you are talking to the patient, keep the patient relaxed. Your palpatory findings will be different from when the patient is anxious, the abdomen is rigid, and you may feel that this rigidity is due to a disease. Now, as we all know, there are four important steps in examination. It is inspection, palpation, percussion, and auscultation. Coming to abdominal inspection, the first thing is the shape of the abdomen. It can be flat or distended or normal for a patient. The skin over abdomen, you look for redness, scars of previous surgery, stria, itching marks, branding marks, nodules, and distended veins. Coming to umbilicus, as shown in the image, you may have an umbilical hernia. You may see enlarged paraumbilical veins, which are usually seen due to portal hypertension. You may see the umbilicus as retracted or everted, as in massive ascites. You see the position of the umbilicus. Is it midway between xiphisternum and pubic symphysis, or is it deviated to one of the two sides? And this is an important sign that we measure in palpation. We will see it in some time. Look at the movements with respiration. If the movements are restricted, it may suggest peritonitis. Visible lump, peristalsis, suggests obstruction. Visible lump can be of tumor or hernias. Cuff impulse, again hernia, and visible pulsation may suggest an aortic aneurysm. Don't forget to inspect the renal angles, which are at the back, groin, scrotum, and supraclavicular lymph node. So all these points need to be inspected. When you are going to present the case, you have to say all these points in one line. On inspection, my patient has a normal abdomen with normal skin over the abdomen, no visible scars, stria, branding marks, nodules, or distended veins. The umbilicus is central in position and not retracted. Movements with respiration are thoraco-abdominal or abdominothoracic. There is no visible lump, peristalsis, cuff impulse, or pulsations. Renal angles are normal and there are no visible swellings in the groin. Scrotum is bilaterally normal and there is no supraclavicular fullness. So this is how you can say your inspectory findings. Now, coming to palpation, there are four important parts when it comes to palpation. The first is the superficial palpation, then deep palpation, then you palpate for specific organs, and then there are various measurements that you need to take when it comes to palpation. So, in superficial palpation, we use light pressure, and this is basically done to assess for the muscle tone, the temperature of the general abdomen, as well as temperature over the area of interest. For example, if there is a gallbladder lump, you would like to look at the temperature there and compare it with the temperature at rest of the abdomen. Tenderness, rebound tenderness, guarding, and rigidity are four important things that you also need to assess when it comes to palpation. So, tenual sign is the sign that we were discussing. It's a measurement point, but to explain, basically, you measure the distance from umbilicus to xiphisternum and umbilicus to pubis. And if the x is greater than p, then it suggests that annual sign is positive and it's an indicator of ascites. As we also know, if there is moderate to gross ascites, you can also have shifting dullness and fluid thrill. We will see these points when we are separately doing a video on liver examination and ascites. But just to give you an idea that these kind of measurements are taken in palpation of the abdomen. Now, looking at these four terms, tenderness, rebound tenderness, guarding, and rigidity, something that you are going to live with the rest of your life, routinely asked in exam, important to perform practically when you are doing your OSCEs. Tenderness is pain elicited on palpation. Rebound tenderness is pain felt on sudden release of pressure more than on pressing, suggests peritonitis. Guarding is voluntary contraction of abdominal muscles due to pain, whereas rigidity is an involuntary bolt-like muscle spasm, and this is important because it indicates peritonitis. So rebound tenderness and rigidity, peritonitis, guarding is voluntary. You can remove guarding by talking to the patient and providing comfort. Tenderness is pain elicited while palpation. So once you have done this, go to deep palpation, palpate from the area where there is no pain and keep the area where there is pain on superficial palpation to the end of palpation. So firm pressure to assess for deep swellings or abnormalities. Once you have done this, you look at organ palpation. As I said, we will cover this in a separate video where we will discuss the various techniques for palpation of liver and spleen, gallbladder, kidneys, and Aorta is also often palpated, especially in cases with aortic aneurysm. Like we discussed the tenule sign, there are other measurements. You saw the measurements in the video on hernia. If there is a lump, you need to measure the size of the lump. Hepatomegaly, splenomegaly, gallbladder mass, all of them are areas where you need to perform measurements, and we will see that in specific videos covering these aspects. Now, coming to percussion, remember that the generalized abdominal tone is tympanic, which is normal. Hyperresonant will suggest obstruction, increase of gas in the intestines. There is something known as a liver dullness that you measure in the mid-clavicular line. We will see it in the separate video on liver and splenic dullness, ascites, and you can measure your shifting dullness here. Lump percussion and percussive tenderness, which suggests peritonitis. For example, when you are doing percussion, say for spleen, the trob space is important. It's a quadrilateral space where in the mid-clavicular line on the left side, the tip of the left sixth rib, the ninth rib tip in the anterior axillary line, the left lower costal margin. So you can see the mid-clavicular line, the left sixth rib go along and up to the ninth rib tip in the anterior axillary line, create a line, and below the left costal margin, this is the anterior axillary line and the mid-clavicular line. At the lowermost corner of this quadrilateral is an area which is known as Castell's spot. It is important when you are assessing your patient for splenomegaly. We will see that in detail when we are discussing the percussion for splenomegaly. Coming to auscultation, we use the stethoscope, listen in all four quadrants, spend at least 2 minutes when you are looking for vowel sounds. If there are no sounds in up to 2 to 3 minutes of auscultation, it suggests paralytic ileus. Normal sounds is between 3 and 5 per minute. Increased sounds or hyperactive sounds suggest intestinal obstruction. Absent sounds suggest ileus or peritonitis. Above the aorta, you can hear bruise in the epigastrium. Bruit can suggest arterial stenosis or aneurysm. Special sounds, if you have seen our video on gastric outlet obstruction, something known as succussion splash, friction rub, we don't routinely do, but it can be seen in liver and spleen inflammation. So these are some of the important sounds, especially vowel sounds. You need to listen to at least 50 abdomens to understand what is normal, what is the pitch of the sound, when do you feel that the sounds are sluggish versus the normal versus the hyperactive. So this is something, a skill that you develop with time. Listening to vowel sounds is not extinct. It is practiced even today. So something that you need to see. Okay. Other important points when you are doing abdominal examination, don't forget the renal angles, back and spine. That is an important point. Don't forget hernial orifices, scrotal swellings, and the groin. Per-rectal and per-vaginal examination is important part when indicated. Supraclavicular nodes. Sometimes you may need your patient in a knee elbow position if you are looking at small ascites or you want to differentiate intraperitoneal from retroperitoneal lump. We will see that in a separate video on examination of abdominal lump. But these are some of the points that you cannot miss. Now, once you have done your examination, understand that you have to analyze the history and examination as one. Try to identify the possible organ or system that is involved. Develop your differential diagnosis. Then document your history in the subjective, objective assessment and plan format. Don't forget signature, name, date, and time, that is SNDT. We have discussed this in few other videos. And then presentation of the case. If you want, we will do a case presentation where each and every point has to be conveyed in a line. Go through this video 2 or 3 times and you will come to know each and every fine point that we have tried to cover in general in abdominal examination. Thank you.